Hi, I'm Una. Thank you for visiting my channel today. I'm using stencils, very inexpensive ones, to produce a lovely effect for a card project. They're a relatively inexpensive tool to invest in for your projects. These ones are lovely, but you can use any pattern stencils that you happen to own. These ones are from Craft Sensations. I'm using my Make Art station today to hold down my project, and I'm just making sure that it's stable and not going to shift while I'm applying Nuvo Glimmer paste. The last time I opened this was over a year ago. I had it sealed with a piece of press and seal. That was a great tip from Amy R of Prairie Paper and Ink, and I'm delighted to find that it's still the same wonderful consistency that it always was and spreads really easily over my stencil. I'm using Nuvo art tools, spatula and a stencil pal to help me put the paste through the stencil. These are inexpensive as well and well worth investing in. I clean up, and that's really important. Press and seal back on the jar, giving it a good tight squeeze. I remove the stencil carefully. I'm thrilled with that, isn't it gorgeous? For the next project, I use white pigment ink, Yeti from Lawnfawn, and a Ranger inking tool. I also apply stick and spray to the back of the stencil. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the product Pixie Spray. This is similar, but it's from Crafter's Companion. This is a very juicy ink pad, and I ink the Ranger inking tool up well, and then I pounce the ink on top of the stencil. I don't twist it or rub it in any way. I don't want to shift the stencil. Even though I've got the spray on, it still moves a bit with the juiciness of the pad. I give it a quick dry, but I do end up leaving this overnight. You wouldn't need to leave it that long to dry, but this pigmenting does take some time. You see here the way I have offset the stencil when I put it down the second time to ink it up. This is a Memento Teal Zeal dye ink, and I apply it in exactly the same way, just pouncing it on. This is very simple to do. This is a really fast project. And the reveal, isn't that looking lovely? I was really thrilled with this. The three-dimensional effect you get is really gorgeous. For the next project, I use black card. This is quite heavyweight. This is a very important step, putting on the magic bag with the cornstarch to make sure that sticky ink won't adhere where I don't want it, because I'm going to be using my Versamark ink pad. This is a stained one, but that doesn't matter. It won't show on this particular project. You can use any sticky ink that you happen to own. I do twist the tool a little bit this time to make sure I get into the nooks and crannies of those stars. I wasn't able to see the ink when I was applying it through the stencil, but it stenciled really well. I'm using 2 embossing powders. You could use more than that if you wanted to. I could have added copper and maybe liquid platinum into the mix, and it would have been gorgeous. For today, I just used silver and gold. Make sure you put the embossing powder back into the jar in between the colours. You don't want them mixing. Although you could make a very interesting embossing powder by mixing up a little of all of those colours. Might try that sometime. Don't you love heat embossing? I loved watching these stars appear. Beautiful. To finish it off, I applied a thin layer of Versamark to the edge of the card. When you do this, it gives a lovely finished feel to the project. And this is how I finished the cards. This green one spoke to me of Christmas, so I decided to use a lawn fawn. I think it's lawn fawn. I do list my supplies down below the video if you're interested in finding out what anything is. Those words I bought years ago from Britannia dyes, and they're on tracing paper here. I liked the shadow behind, but I didn't want to be hiding the pattern. The starry one I turned into a congratulations card for my niece. That wow I bought recently with the stencils in the range here in Ireland. Very inexpensive die, but I think it's very effective. Lovely card. This is my favourite. I just love the 3D effect that offset inking gave. I used a Whimsical hare from Lavinia stamps on this card, and I used baker's twine. That's the first time that's seen the light of day in my craft room for a long time. I must remember to use it more often. I thought it looked lovely here. I paired this with a Thinking of You die that I just did in white. Really lovely effect the offset inking gives. I must do that more often. So those are the 3 projects for today. I do hope you enjoyed this video and that you'll come back to Una's Crafty Cards. I would love if you would subscribe to my channel, and if you click on the bell that's down below this video, YouTube will notify you when I upload my weekly videos. Do take great care of yourselves. All the best. Bye.